Are you feeling guilty about going no contact? Of course I feel guilty. Sometimes. I feel bad about the prospect of my dad feeling sad about not seeing or hearing from me. But what is that, really? He's just not getting the narcissistic supply he was accustomed to. Does that sound cold? Heartless? Of course it does. For people having, for a lack of a better term, normal father, this attitude is shocking, unthinkable. But going no contact with that side of the family was a long time coming. It simply comes down to diminishing returns, and there was no goodness in the relationship left to be had. In the last year, I've learned a lot about human nature and getting the distinction between how I think things ought to be and how people are, and allowing them the space to be how they are, however limited that may be, and being okay with it, which, in a perfect world, would apply to my parents as well, and I should extend to them that same forgiveness and understanding. But when I imagine popping up out of the woodwork, I foresee a guilt trip of humongous proportions. Is that just my own fear? Or is this a logical extrapolation based on 50 plus years of experience trying to get along with these people? Perhaps a little of both. But it comes down to the sense of there being no more goodness left to mine from the relationship. You see, there's a point in a relationship that is toxic, a relationship with a narcissist, where you've been depleted to the point where there is utterly nothing left. When you realize that they are never going to give, much less give you what you want or need. All the hopes and dreams that kept you bound have been shattered, and you find yourself with no compelling reason to continue on this way. It's pointless, and it hurts too much. So you call it quits and you go your separate ways. But when it's family, there's still a taboo about going no contact. They're your family after all. Shouldn't that mean something special? How can you turn your back on your family? For those fortunate enough to have had an upbringing with a healthy sense of familial love, with a family unit committed to pulling together as a family, why would you turn your back on them? There would be no reason. To belong to such a clan, such a tribe, would be an incredible source of energy and strength. But when you have parents who can't see or hear you as a separate individual, who cannot respect your opinions or your wishes, they aren't there for you in any way, shape, or form. You exist only to serve as a source of narcissistic supply. Therefore, you are either good or bad in their estimation. You are a good kid when you are serving up narcissistic supply, and a bad kid whenever you're not. You are going to come up discouraged and empty-handed, expecting something from them that they cannot give. And such a one-sided situation can only be tolerated for so long. I tried to work things out with my narcissistic mother for my entire adult life, to no avail. I repeatedly went back only to be emotionally ripped off again and again, wounded ever more deeply, further and further depleted, until it was clear from an objective evaluation of this lifelong pattern that this relationship was toxic, that this was a relationship detrimental to my well-being, that there was no reward for me in this except disappointment and suffering. Because this woman was incapable of loving me, nor valuing me, nor respecting me. She could not, nor would not give me enough goodness to compel me to remain in relationship to her. Now, I would imagine her spin to be, I don't know what she wanted from me. She was being unreasonable. And that's fine. And as for my father, I would imagine that he is angry with me because he was angry with me for being angry with his wife for gaslighting me and telling me that Dad himself was the reason I wasn't invited to family get-togethers. I never got a straight answer about that one. And he was angry with me for being upset with my brother the drug addict's mother, for lying to us about what was going on with little brother, when prior to this we'd always been able to talk openly about him and our concerns. So he is as incapable as narcissistic mother to put himself in my shoes and to understand my point of view and to respect that there are things I still feel tender about. And love is having compassion for those tender places and feeling empathy and lending support where support is needed and pulling together as friends, as teammates, as co-workers, as life partners, as family. Now, if you have a situation where my sister is an asshole, but mom's great, or mom's an asshole, but my sister and I are very close, you wouldn't need or want to sever the ties because there is still some goodness left in the family as a whole. But if there's no goodness left, then going no contact is a sensible and viable choice and a major step on the way to a sane and happy life. If these people honestly loved you, then they would never have driven you away. Things would never have devolved to such a low point. You should never feel guilty for pulling away from energy vampires who only want your narcissistic supply. But it's perfectly understandable to feel sad that this is what you had to do and that it had to come to this. So, at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you. This is After Arts, out.